Hare Krishna. So we'll chant the Pranams mantra and then we'll get into the discussion. Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Shri Guru Sri Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnam Vamsha Shri Pamshagrajatam Shahagnara Gunatan Vitam Tam Sajiyam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parjanam Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagna Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapt Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Purnamami Hari Priye Vanchkalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Vyayavasya Patitanam Pavanebho Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padayo Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanto Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vinda Panchtatvatmakam Krishna Bhakta-rupa-swarupakam Bhaktavakaram Bhaktyakham Namami Bhakti Shaktikam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Mahamantra ki jai ISKCON founder Acharya His Divine Grace Shri Bhaktivedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada ki jai Anant Koti Vaishnavrind ki jai Assemble Bhaktivinoda ki jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Hare Krishna. So let's start. Thank you everybody for being a part of our study today. So we'll continue with verse number 6 and 7. So as we have been talking that in the Nectar of Instructions, there are 11 verses. And we have so far studied 5 verses in preface. And verse number 6 and 7 are due for today. So last week, we studied what are the 6 loving exchanges among the devotees. And then we also studied 3 types of devotees, Kanishthadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, and Uttamadhikari. And what are their characteristic, how they are basically differing from one another. So Kanishta, Uttama, and Madhma. Why? Because all of these loving exchanges that we talked about, the bhakti should be performed in the association of devotee. It's highly desired that participants can, okay, it's highly desired that we try to associate with the devotees who are elevated in their Krishna consciousness. It's very important that we elevate with the personality who are very advanced in their Krishna consciousness. And advancement in Krishna consciousness has nothing to do with the power, nothing to do with the prestige, nothing to do how much respect I have, how much other activity I do. Advancement in Krishna consciousness is basically how much intense desire I have to serve Krishna. Services that's given to us, that's for our transformation. Nautpadate yadhiratim sharmevahi kevalam. So we are super tired, whole day, whole night, we are engaged doing in service. But if that service is not transforming our heart, rather it's creating some sort of false pride, then it's going into the opposite direction. So Kanishta Madhma and Uttama, Kanishta Adhikari, Madhma Adhikari, and Uttama Adhikari, they are known based upon their activities. There are many ways we can see who is Kanishta, who is Madhma, and who is Uttama Adhikari. Depending on the context, you will see multiple definitions given to these adhikaris. For example, when it comes to uh, 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 sense control, Kanishta has no sense control. He will be chanting the name of Krishna. He will be associating with the devotee, but he himself has no control over the senses. On the other hand, Madhyama Adhikari will have control of senses. His senses are given example like tortoise. He will basically, whenever he will find the opportunity where he would see that this is the time for me to serve on higher level, then he will come out, serve, and as soon as that service is done, then he will contract. And Uttama Adhikari, he has no perception. He's not really even aware that there is anything in this world except serving Krishna. So on different basis, we can understand this Uttama Adhikari. On Sastric understanding, we can see on their behavior, we can see who is Kanishta, who is Madhma, who is Uttama. And by that particular instruction, by that verse number 5 that we studied, Sri Rupa Goswami, which is ultimately coming from Mahaprabhu, is giving us the instruction that first we should aspire to associate with devotees who are higher in their consciousness, and then second, we ourselves should try to elevate our consciousness to that level. So while we are in the process of bhakti, we come across multiple level of association that we have with the devotee. So verse number 6 is going to teach us that one should not see devotee on material platform. How to see devotee. That's we are going to see in verse number 6. And then while we are engaged in the bhakti, we will have some degree of resistance in getting up in the morning, resistance in chanting our round seriously, resistance in being humble. It's very hard to think ourselves that I'm servant of somebody. It's very hard to put ourselves low. It says that a perfect devotee is the one who has no defensive mentality. Okay, so when we advance in the process of bhakti, a perfect devotee is the one who is acting like Prahlad Maharaj. Okay, fully depending on Krishna, because he knows that everything is managed and functioning by the will of Krishna or by sanction of Krishna. Nothing can happen. This is some degree of atheism, thinking that things can happen, without Krishna sanctioning it, or there is somebody else, or there are some other circumstances that managing it, and Krishna has nothing to do with it. That is some degree of atheism. As we are trying to elevate ourselves in the process of bhakti, we should know that the ultimate cause of everything that's happening is Krishna. There is direct will of Lord that's manifest, or sometimes he sanctions somebody wills, but the either he sanctions or that's his will. It has to be basically approved by him. So verse number 7 will basically teach that what are the conditioning that living beings have and how we can overcome, especially in the age of Kali. So Kali Yuga is the stage we are in. So we'll get into the verse. And this is a beautiful verse. I should be saying 6, sorry for that. It says, Drishta Swabhava Janiter Bhapushya Dosher Na Prakritvam Iha Bhaktya Janasya Pashyate Gangam Bhasham Nakhalu Budbud Fenara Pankair Brahman Dravatvam pagachti niradharmenaha. So if we try to understand the meaning of each line, Drishta Swabhava Janitair Vapusha Doshair. So Vapu is basically body. So Drishta means vision. From an ordinary vision, a devotee might have some defect in their nature, like being lethargy, or being a little bit sluggish, slow, or maybe not acting very intelligently, or there might be some defects in their body, such as maybe a little bit diseased body, maybe old body, maybe different type of body, different color of the bodies. So there could be some visual distinctions that we can see among the devotees. But one should not see a pure devotee from such a materialistic point of view. So again, if you really look at this, the essence of the teaching, this this doesn't apply to Uttmadhikari, because Uttmadhikari has not this type of a vision. He is not seeing people based upon their physical appearance. He's tall, he's short, he's black, he's white, he's green, he's blue, whatever physical appearance one has. The Uttmadhikari is not seeing that. So this applies to devotee who are maybe in a very beginning stage, who may be in a very neophyte stage, who may be in the Kanishta stage, or who might be in Madhyama stage also. But Uttmadhikari definitely is not seeing people based upon their physical appearance. So one should not see a pure devotee from such a materialistic point of view, such as Mother Ganges. The Ganges River might sometimes contain bubbles or foam or mud. Normally in monsoon season, you will see a lot of foam and mud and so many filthy thing swimming uh, in Mother Ganges. But the Ganges water is always transcendental and is never polluted. So, my dear devotees, very, very important thing. That's why it's very important that we, do systematic study of Sastra. Why? Because this type of understanding has to be developed. That how to interact with devotees when we are among the devotee, how we should see devotee. We don't find fault in pure devotee, and we'll see some more definition. So what are the faulty way of seeing devotee, and what is the remedy for that? So this particular purport summarizes what are the faulty way we end up seeing devotees: offensive perception or offensive dealing with pure devotees. And what are the remedy that we have against every offensive perception we have towards the devotee? So bodily defect, if we look into the some bodily defect of the devotee, we should try to overlook it. If somebody has not taken birth in a higher family, in this particular case, like in a Brahmin family or family of a devotee, but that person might have taken birth, in some other part of the world where they don't have, good, you know, training from their childhood, but later they are trying to be Krishna conscious. We don't do any distinction based upon their birth. Seeing in a very material way, in this particular way, that there is a rich devotee, somebody is very rich, somebody is very powerful, somebody is very, materially opulent. When they come among the group of devotee, you will see devotee giving a lot of respect to the person who is materially opulent and not maybe spiritually very opulent. This is offense. Very important to note that we should not unnecessarily respect the people based upon their material occupation. Somebody is doctor, somebody is, giving big donations to the temple. Somebody might be a poor devotee, very humble, simple devotee, and we say, who cares for him? Oh yeah, please come, sir. What we can do? It's all good. We have to help. We have to take their services. But when it comes to our dealing, we should be very, very careful that the Vaishnava, who are maybe not very materially opulent, but if he's situated at the higher stage uh, in bhakti process, if he's Uttama Adhikari, he should definitely be given more respect. Kanishta should be given more respect over the neophyte. Madhma should be given more respect over the Kanishta. So we don't get, our vision contaminated with any other factor. Rather, in the dealing of a devotee, we only see the devotion. And sometimes, devotee may end up doing some accidental mistakes, because they say that, there is inertia. If you turn the switch off, still fan will move, because fan was moving in full speed, right? So there is no source of energy to continue moving in the same speed. Devotee is trying to cut off all the exterior or interior faults that he finds or she finds, but still there is some inertia, some conditioning that's coming birth after birth. So in that force, a devotee may end up making some mistakes. Devotee might have some, some shortcoming that you and I can easily find, but still we should not be, too critical about it. Rather, try to uh, ignore it. Envying their exalted position. So if somebody is advancing in devotional service, somebody is getting very good in doing some service, somebody is getting very good in making beautiful, prasadam for Krishna in 1 hour. In 1.5 hours, he can cook multiple items, and all of those items are super tasty, super good. Somebody is advancing in doing deity decoration. So we should not say, oh, why he is doing such a nice deity decoration, why I can't do it. Or if somebody is, advancing in understanding Shastric principle, oh, he talks big thing, but if you look at his personal life, he's a big zero. Those type of things, it's just nothing but envy. Okay. Oh, he's just taking some soft service. He's not, interested to do hard service. Service is service, soft service and hard service. This is our mental concoction. Service, anything that is elevating our consciousness, that's helping others' consciousness to elevate, that's service. That's pleasing to Krishna, that's service. Anything that's displeasing to Krishna, even if it's very, very heavy, it's not service. So not, basically trying to be envious with the devotee, and also unnecessarily not trying to criticize the devotee. In fact, we should have zero, zero propensity to criticize devotee. If we cannot say good thing about somebody, better to keep our mouth shut. No need to say anything. And all of us should try to practice that. If I can say some good thing about Ramkrishna Prabhu, yes, he's very, serious. He likes Harinam. He's always talking about Krishna. I see him, I get inspiration. Oh, I see Narayan Das. He's always talking about, how to serve, how to, he's, motivating devotee to do more service. He doesn't mind whatever, amount of service you give it to him, he will do. Okay. He's always eager to serve. Those type of quality, everybody has some good qualities. Yes, they might have some minor here and there, but we don't worry too much about that. We rather focus on their quality. And if you focus on the quality, your quality will, improve. You will basically, gain some of those, good quality that other devotees had. So we should always try to, uh, appreciate devotee, and unnecessarily not advising or correcting. If we are empowered person, if somebody comes and seeks our guidance, Prabhu, I had such and such thing, somebody consider you as their instructor, as a Shiksha Guru, as mentor, as advisor, Prabhu, I would like to beg your feedback on such and such topic. How should I deal with certain situation? Then you have a right to share, unless otherwise there is no need unnecessarily to keep on advising somebody and then that person might not be very respectful, although the intent of advice always for the welfare of the person who is being advised, but maybe that person would not perceive the intent, and he would basically rather say that, why you are always trying to correct me. We have that type of personality that we don't like to be corrected too much also. So don't unnecessarily advise people who are not within your range, who are not within your domain, or who are not within your subordination. Don't try to do that. And also, there is no action, especially in this case, any disciplinary action that can be taken against pure devotee. Pure devotee is beyond all the rules and regulations. Nothing can bind him, and you don't have to go so far. Although there are millions and millions and millions of example that can be given. Hare Krishna. I'm in class. There are millions and millions of examples that can be given, but I don't know. Hare Krishna, just give me 1 minute. Somebody is at my door. Just 1 minute. Sorry, please forgive me. Sorry about that, Hare Krishna. So let me share my, I found that my screen sharing stopped. Hare Krishna, Prabhu, are we back to normal now? Everybody can see my screen? Can somebody confirm?
Yes, Prabhu, we can see it.
Dandavats, Hare Krishna. So there is no action that can be taken against, devotee, pure devotee especially. And the best example we can see that Srila Prabhupada, he walked on this planet like a lion, pure devotee. And wherever he went, such a strong representative of Krishna, that the force of the purity comes, especially when we try to purify our consciousness, then that force will come. Because when we purify our consciousness, with that purification, we increase our degree of dependence on Krishna. So that gives, a strong, faith, that gives a strong dependence on Krishna. So there is no type of disciplinary action that can be taken against any advanced devotee. So these are some of the points mentioned in the purport. Prabhupada is also saying in this purport that there are two types of consciousness. The first one is material consciousness, where aim is to enjoy, and Krishna consciousness is the aim of Krishna consciousness is to serve Krishna. So material consciousness and Krishna consciousness, very common thing. You might have heard thousands times. It's mentioned in the purport. And the activity of the soul is that soul should strive for pure devotion. So that's the reason these two consciousnesses mentioned. There is material consciousness and there is Krishna consciousness. But soul should always continuously trying to elevate and go more towards Shuddha Bhakti or Avicharani Bhakti, pure, unalloyed, loving service to the Krishna, which are beyond three modes. So Satagun, Rajagun, and Tamagun. So we should, in normal dealing also, like, we are, just take the example, we are talking about festival planning. And festival planning, certain thing happens, and I start losing my anger. It's not good. It's more a passion. So whatever situation it is, try to, if you can manage, manage. If you cannot manage, avoid it. That's the rule of thumb. That's the principle. If you cannot manage, what you can do, it's beyond you. Just avoid it. But in every situation, keep respect, be, kind of humble, and with enthusiasm, whatever you can manage, try to manage, and don't let your consciousness affect it, because that's what we are. If we keep on bouncing back and forth, sometimes pure devotee and sometimes we come back to the stage of tamoguni, mode of ignorance, is not good. So for us to go, this is a very important point I'm trying to make. If you can make a note, remember it, it will help you. If you, pure bhakti is beyond these three modes. We have to come in Shuddha Sattva. How one can come in Shuddha Sattva if one is not constantly and steadily staying in Sattva Guna? Okay, so it's very important that at least we always try to retain ourselves in Sattva Guna. In our dealing, always keep that in the mind, that sometimes we have some force that will impel us to cross the border, but right away remind your mind, no, but I was supposed to be in the mode of Sattva Guna. So if we stay always in the mode of Sattva Guna, then slowly and slowly we'll transcend to the Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness. So that's what we should try to do in our dealings, whatever amount of conflicts, whatever situations we have in our personal life, we should transcend. We should try to go up with the mood and try to act in the mode of goodness. If we continue acting like that, then we'll get into a stage where we can perform Suddha Bhakti or Abhicharani Bhakti. That's why all those points that we saw in the previous slide is very, very important. If we know those things, it will help us to always retain our consciousness in a pure goodness. So understanding a devotee's glory, there are a few points that mentioned in the purport, which I would like to highlight. Pure devotees are not mere conditional souls. Okay, so we still have the body, we still have limitations of the body, which means cough, cold, fever. Coronavirus can get active in our system, can destroy us, but doesn't matter. If one has pure consciousness, he is not a mere conditioned soul. He's not, if some of the things that we see happening in their body, we should not see, we should not think, oh, see, he did 35 years of the tapasya. What happened? He still gets sick, he still gets cold, he still gets sneezy, and all of that thing. No, we don't see like that. Yes, body is there. Body is impacted by the forces that's existing around, but the consciousness has nothing to do with the body. They do not fall into the bad association or commit offenses to the holy name. Pure devotee always try to associate with advanced devotee. They try to avoid bad association, and they are not living a life which are very offensive to the holy name, the 10 offenses of the holy name. And we'll go one day through one by one. Unless one is a devotee, that's a very important point to be noted. One cannot see another devotee perfectly. A Kanishta Adhikari cannot distinguish between a devotee and a non-devotee, but a Madhma Adhikari can. And we saw the same thing in the previous purport also. So if we, I'm not saying this. This is coming from, Sri Rupa Goswami's, verse, Prabhupada's purport. And many places it's mentioned that mind is basically seeing our own reflection. So if we are not finding other, acting in Krishna consciousness, that means we ourselves are not acting in Krishna consciousness. So unless one is not a devotee, one cannot see another or somebody else devotion. One can distinguish between neophyte Vaishnava and advanced Vaishnava by their activities. Okay, it's very important. It's very important. Acharan, acharya shabd comes from acharan. Okay, kehu kahe, kehu sikhaye. There are somebody who is coming from Chaitanya Charitamrita. There is somebody who is very good in talking the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Very good, very flowery, very exciting, perfectly on the meter, on the scale, the pronunciation of the Sanskrit word, everything perfect. There are some who are very good in teaching others, okay, but there are very few who has all of these, who are very good in saying things, who are very good in teaching others, and who are very good in acting on those teaching by himself also, okay. And the person who does all these things together, they are called acharya. There are somebody who is very good in saying, there are somebody who is very good in preaching, but the one who does what he preaches is acharya. So it's very important.
So Prabhu, Ramacharya comes from Ramacharana?
Ramacharya, yes, Prabhu.
Ramacharana.
I'll talk about that, Prabhu. Yes. So Ramacharya Das, basically, I am the servant of a person who is following the footsteps of Lord Ramchandra.
Mhm.
That's the real meaning. We all have Das important. Ramacharya is yes. So advanced Vaishnava is always situated as a guru and the neophyte as disciple. That's also a very important thing. And the devotee who are very advanced, although they might not be officially a spiritual master, but he is always situated as a guru. On the other hand, a neophyte is always serving as a disciple. The guru must not be subjected to the advice of a disciple. So we should, unnecessarily not try to advise our spiritual master. Yes, if there is some meeting, some discussion going on, some back and forth, planning is going on, there we can talk. But we cannot, later go and say, the Guru Maharaj, I like everything, but I don't like, when you give class and you say certain thing, we don't do that kind of thing. I'm saying that thing because I have to make the point clear. Please forgive me. We don't say that type of instructions to our spiritual master. Prabhupada is giving a caution, very beautiful caution in the purport, that if one has made some progress in bhakti and consider themselves a devotee and begins engaging in material misconduct, saying that, oh no, I do bhakti. Okay, so by doing bhakti, I'm doing right thing, so I can do some other misconduct, and my bhakti will basically counter balance that. If somebody is doing like that, that person will certainly fall from the path of bhakti. And then Prabhupada further says, by coming into contact with such person, one's bhakti is also destroyed. So not that person is going to fall down, but other who are taking his association, their bhakti will also be destroyed. So that's why it's very important to understand. It's all coming in the context, in the context of who to associate. Prabhupada, here Sri Rupa Goswami Prabhupada is trying to give us the, understanding that where to seek our association. And in that perspective, all of these teachings are given. Okay. So, oh my gosh, I didn't work on changing the verse number. Sorry. So I put the star here. This is verse number 7. And this verse, very, very, very powerful verse. And you might have, heard this verse many times, many places. Prabhupada has quoted this verse quite a few times. So I would like to read the verse. The word itself, as you go through it, it will tell you what it is basically going to talk about. Shyat Krishna Nam Charitadi Sitapi Avidya. Shyat Krishna Nam Charitadi Sitapi Avidya. Pitopatap Prasanasya na Rochinau Kinto Adrad Anudinam Kalau Saiva Justa Swah Sadhvi Kramad Bhavati Tad Gada Mulahantari. So the word by word, if you see each word, that's why I wanted to kind of break it. Shyat Krishna Nam Charitadi Sitapi Avidya. Each word itself, is like powerful. So what happens is that the Krishna's, Charitadi, Krishna Nam and Charitadi, Krishna's name and pastime are all absolute and sweet, like sugar. But Sat Avidya, but due to ignorance, Pito Patapta Rasanasya Na Ruchikaunu. One cannot, ruchi means taste. Pitopta, the bile, or the bad experience that we have, the the bad karma that we have accumulated. One cannot release that sweet nam and charit of the Krishna, just as the tongue of one afflicted by jaundice tastes sweet as bitter. So, name of Krishna, his pastime are absolute and sweet. It's sweet like sugar, but if somebody's tongue is afflicted by jaundice, then he cannot taste the sweetness of the sugar. Kinto, but adarad anudinam khlau saiva justa, but adarad with respect, anudinam day after day, khlau saiva justa, if one chants the name of Krishna, yet by careful and daily treatments, careful adarad with respect. Swadvi means the taste. Kramad, slowly and slowly. Bhavati appears. Tad gada mula hantari. A natural taste will awaken slowly and slowly. A natural release awaken in the tongue, and the jaundice of ignorance is destroyed at the door. So pastime and name and pastime. Krishna Nam Charitadi, absolute and sweet, taste like sugar. But since our tongue is afflicted by jaundice, we cannot taste the sweetness, rather it tastes bitter. But carefully, every day, with due respect, justa, if we chant the name of Krishna and if we are engaged in the process of bhakti, then slowly and slowly, that jaundice that we have, the disease of jaundice that we have, that will go away, and then that sugar will start tasting sweet. So sadhana bhakti in nutshell is basically that at some point we were tasting the sugar and it tasted sweet. Now I got afflicted with jaundice, which is material conditioning, and now I can't taste, although I seems to be eating the sugar, it tastes bitter. So when that time will come, my dear Lord, then I can taste the sugar again as sweet. Okay, so that's the basically summary of this verse. And then Prabhupada will give very systematically how we can get rid of this jaundice, which is our material conditioning, and start tasting the nectar of Charitadi and Nama, Lord's pastime and his holy name. So healthy condition, Jiva Sarupaya Nitya Krishna Das. What is our healthy condition? Our healthy condition is that we are Krishna conscious, and we have been Krishna conscious. We are from Krishna's, we are one of the Krishna's associates. Let's put it that way. We served Krishna, very nicely, but now we have lost that position. But Prabhupada is starting saying that our original identity is that Jiva Sarupaya Nitya Krishna Das. We have always been associate of Supreme Personality of Godhead, but now we are in the disease condition, and the disease condition is that we have lost the taste due to our avidya, due to our asmita, due to our false ego, due to our raga, due to our dvesha, due to our anivesha. These are the five factors that's given by Patanjali, which make us basically enjoy this material world. Raga and dvesha, both are helping us to enjoy the material world. It's not like that only raga helps. Dvesa also helps. Somebody, is not doing good and you are inimical with that person. If that person gets disease, if that person gets sick, if that person gets tortured, we feel pleasure, we feel pleasure. So dvesa also helps. So this is the disease condition that now we are trying to basically enjoy the bitterness that's being offered to us. And then Prabhupada is saying this disease condition is basically because of the our exposure to Maya, and because of the false shelter that we have taken with Maya. And what we are doing is that we are trying to rectify one mistake by making another mistake. Okay, by trying to do one mistake, trying to find the solution for one mistake. In material world, there is no perfect solution, and I'm sure many of you will agree that you try to solve one problem, another problem will come. Try to work on that problem, another problem will come. It's kind of perpetuating cycle, that's keep on basically moving, and there is no end. And then Prabhupada talks about some of the leaders of the society, because they are provoking that blindness. They themselves are blind, and they are teaching and provoking that blindness to the people who are already blind, people who are already diseased. And Prabhupada, in many times, he quotes and talks about the modern education system, where the new generations or coming generations are being taught about how to get slaughtered by Maya, slaughtered by Yamraj, slaughtered by the pains and miseries that they have to go through. But, we are exposed to this material world. We are led by this blind leader. We are in disease condition of our life, but there is a medicine. And Prabhupada says that medicine is basically in the age of Kali, for that jaundice. The medicine is that we chant the name of Krishna. And what is the treatment? What is the prescription? The prescription is that we take that medicine regularly, which means chanting the holy name of Krishna, following the 4 regulative principles, associating with devotee, and we'll study more. 64 limbs of bhakti. That's the subject of Nectar of Devotion. So once we get there, then we'll elaborate a little bit more on this topic and unfold it for our kind of understanding that what type of what's the medicine and what's the treatment. Medicine means basically what we should do, and treatment means what's the prescription, how we should take the medicine. And that is basically the subject of Nectar of Devotion. Prabhupada also writes in the verse that once we start taking the medicine and following the prescription in a prescribed way, then Krishna is like Surya Krishna, So sun or Krishna is compared with sunshine, and Maya is compared with darkness, andhakar. So Surya Sama Krishna, Maya hai andhakar. This Krishna is like sun, and this material conditioning is like andhakar. But even if you just have one small light, very small fraction of light, as soon as the light turn up, try to dispel darkness. So whenever Krishna starts, manifesting his mercy on his devotee, slowly and slowly, Chatudapna Marjanam Bhamahadavagninapnam, that verse of Chaitanya Shastra, verse number 1, sang by Mahaprabhu, is also cited by Prabhupada here, that once the process of cleaning starts, then slowly and slowly, all the conditioning, all that blazing fire that has very much caught, and we all are kind of burning in that fire, slowly and slowly that will subdue, and our cheta, our consciousness, will start cleaning, and slowly the realized knowledge start coming to us, and slowly our life will change, and we become devotee of Krishna. We become powerful devotee one day. So in that process, chanting is very powerful. And then Prabhupada, after talking about our perfect stage, our disease stage, the material world, and then the blind leader, then the treatment, the medicine, and then the treatment, and then after that, uh, which is basically taking the holy name of Krishna. Right after that, Prabhupada talks about holy name. When we are engaged in the process of bhakti, we should chant name of Krishna very carefully. And then there are three types of chanting that exist. Nama aprad is the stage of chanting where we are still filled up with 10 offenses that we normally chant in the morning. So those 10 offenses, I presume that all of you can cite any minute. If not, then you should every morning before you start chanting your Hare Krishna Mahamantra, you should try to call out and those, read those 10 offenses slowly and slowly. You will memorize it. So I don't want to, go through one by one, but, we can talk those things later. So don't have basically, or try to subdue those 10 offenses. The first one is that it is also offense to instruct a person who is trying to promote the name of Krishna consciousness. We should not think that we should not be criticizing the person who is dedicated in promoting the Krishna consciousness, Vaishnava Prad. Then the second offense is that it is also offense to consider the name of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. So saying that, I can chant name of Krishna 16 round, and then I can also chant name of Lord Brahma or Lord, Shiva, thinking that Brahma and Shiva are independent. These are not simple statement. These 10 offenses, if you really pay attention to them, it will help you a lot. Thinking that, oh, Krishna, I just chanted Krishna name. Now let me, chant some other names. Let me, still have some faith in something else. That means we are still thinking that Krishna is not a supreme personality of Godhead, or there are something which is independent of Krishna. Okay, so there is nothing independent of Krishna. Everything is depending on Krishna. So just by chanting the name of Krishna, we are basically everything, Sadha Sabda Vishwasa Kaya, Didha Nishaya, Krishna Bhakti Kaile, Sarva Karya Siddhihaya. With firm faith, Shraddha Sabda Vishwasa Kaya, Didha Nishaya, with firm faith, with this Nishaya, Krishna Bhakti Kaile, we are engaged in devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan Sri Hare, by properly engaged in Krishna consciousness. Sarva, all other activities are being done. We don't have to individually go and try to, worry or look for anything beyond our Krishna consciousness. And then Namabhas stage is the stage where our offenses are listening. We are kind of chanting name of Krishna. It's mixed stage where sometimes we chant very nicely, but still we have some of those offenses. But at least Namabhas is very good stage. But of course, we should not try to stay too long in Namapradha stage. And then the third stage, the highest most stage is Shuddha Nam Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Resa Vigraha Punna Shuddha Nitya Mukta Vinatva Nam Namino, where we are not seeing the distinction between Lord Sri Hari and his holy name. When we are saying the name of Krishna, we are understanding that this name itself is everything. There is no difference between Lord and his holy name. So that type of realization when we chant the name of Krishna, chanting in that bhav. But that doesn't mean that if we are not chanting the Shuddha Nam, we should stop chanting Nama Aprad. Okay, we might be just to make the point. I'm not saying that we are, but even if we are chanting the name of Krishna in Nama Aprad stage, we should continue chanting, because the beauty of the process is that Nama Aprad chanting will lead to Nama Bhash chanting, and Nama Bhash chanting will lead to Shuddhanam chanting. So it's not like that today I don't chant and just be like some sort of yogi and try to control mind and all of the other senses, and after 6 years I'll be perfect chanter. That's not the advice that is being given. whatever stage we are in, we should continue chanting. And one stage will lead to another stage, will lead to another stage. This is a continuous process. This is not a discrete process, 0, 1 type of process. There are infinite many positions between two number. How many numbers exist between two number? Infinite many numbers. Between 0 and 1, there are infinite many numbers. Likewise, from one consciousness to other consciousness, there are millions of consciousness, billions of consciousness that exist between those two consciousness. But successively and slowly, we elevate and proceed. So it's continuous process. It's not a discrete process. Bhakti is a continuous process. And then if we chant the name of Krishna, and depending on at what stage we are chanting, we'll advance. And then this is this beautiful 9 stages of bhakti, which starts from Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajan Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, and Prema is cited by Prabhupada. That if we chant the name of Krishna, then slowly and slowly, depending on how seriously and what stage of what type of chanting we are doing, we will advance in the process of bhakti, and slowly will come to the purest stage, avicharini, pure bhakti, shuddha bhakti. That's basically bhava or prema stage. Bhava and prema stage almost very high stage. So shraddha means having some faith. Shraddha of the Vishwase. Shraddha is very basic, step for one to start their long journey, powerful, most potent journey that begins with Shraddha. And then right after Shraddha, trying to find a methods to associate with devotee. And thousands of the occasions we have in our life where we get the opportunity to associate with devotee. And then Bhajan Kriya, chanting the name of Krishna, engaging in the at least 5 potent limbs of bhakti. We'll talk in Nectar of Devotion. And then slowly and slowly trying to drop down or nivriti, let it go, all the anarthas propensity that we have, and we talked some of those in a previous verse. And then with that, our faith in the name of Krishna will become form. If anartha goes away, then we'll be more form, okay, in our bhakti. And then after that, the taste will come. So that same tongue is, up to Nishtha stage. Nishtha stage is very high stage. We should all at least aspire to come to stage number 5 in this life. Minimal, Nishtha or Ruchi must come at least to the, Ruchi. If you can go to the Bhava, perfect. If you can go to the Prema, Hare Bol, we made it. We are very happy. We're very good. But we should try to basically, in this lifetime, whatever years, number of days we have on this planet, fraction of second we have on this planet, my dear Lord, how can I, strive to be a pure devotee? Always try to strive for a pure devotee. Imitate, act. In certain situation I have in my life, how I would make a decision if I'm a pure devotee, and do that. Try to force yourself to act as a pure devotee. It doesn't happen that suddenly one day you will become a pure devotee. I'm not trying to share something to mislead you. Okay, when I said that try to act as a pure devotee, that doesn't mean that tomorrow we go and start giving instructions to our senior devotee. That's not the point I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that situation that I am in, the service that I'm given in, the way I'm dealing with the people, how can I do it perfectly? That's all I'm trying to say. How can I be a cook in the Srimati Radharani kitchen and act in a perfect mood? How can I be a fundraiser for ISKCON Chicago and be in a perfect mood? How can I be a humble student of a class and act perfectly? Whatever stage, whatever situation we have in our around, seek the perfectness. And that will slowly and slowly will lead us to the stage where at some point we'll act perfectly. It's very hard in the material world to be perfect, but at least align our activity based upon the instructions that's given in Rajtra. So after Ruchi, then this bondage, affection, this is that Fevicol type of, attachment. Once you touch, that firm adherence will develop with Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then bhava. So all of these prema, bhava, and limbs of sadhana bhakti, there is a technical definition for that. What is sadhana bhakti? What is bhava bhakti? What is prema bhakti? There is a technical definition, verse given. Prema bhakti has these, 4 elements. Bhava bhakti has these 3 elements. Sadhana bhakti has these 3 things. If you are doing these 3 things, that means you are engaged in sadhana bhakti. So that's not the part of this discussion. But once we get to the nectar of devotion will basically give us the verse. And then when we get there, I'll say, okay, sadhana means these 3 things. There should be service. Okay, the service should be done, which is in favor of Krishna. Anukulenu Krishnanu. Service must have to be done in favor. Service is not something that you can do against of Krishna. Of course, there should be some action. Okay, and then there should be bhav, mood. So likewise, beautiful definitions are given there for each of these stages. So once we get there, we'll talk about that. But it's 2:57. Let me conclude with this slide. So stages of devotional service, we just went through 9 stages, but I also wanted to kind of a little bit explain so that the concept is clear. So we all are sadhaka. Sadhaka are one who are engaged in bhakti by adopting the limbs of bhakti. There are 64 limbs. Out of those, 5 limbs are very potent limbs. So sadhaka, sadhana bhakti, is basically taking the limbs of bhakti, such as chanting the name of Krishna, reading Srila Prabhupada's book, reading the book, associating with your devotee, having deity worship, and then also Tulsi worship, or also going to holy places. So Tulsi worship and going to holy places is basically in one segment. So these are the 5 potent limbs, and then there are 64 other limbs of the bhakti. So sadhana, sadhaka. This sadhana means strive, service. So sadhaka is basically following these limbs of bhakti, and also those 9 limbs of bhakti: Sarnam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smarnam, Padsevanam, Archanam, Bandhanam, Sakyam, Dasyam, Atmanivedanam. We are doing that. So sadhana bhakti has 2 types: Badhi bhakti and Raganuga bhakti. Okay, Badhi bhakti and Raganuga bhakti. Badhi bhakti is basically very much vidhi. It's based upon the methods, certain do's and certain don'ts. That's what make the Badhi bhakti. So that's the Badhi bhakti. Most of us are following in the beginning stage Badhi bhakti. And Raganuga bhakti is a spontaneous bhakti for Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that type of bhakti has mostly been seen in Brajvasis. This is a mood where one has greed for no reasoning. One has greed, a spontaneous, natural greed to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if I just give something quantitative, Badhi bhakti is mostly, dealing with the mind. Like mind will say, if I don't chant my name, or if I don't chant the name of Krishna to the 16 rounds, I am not obeying the order of my spiritual master, or the vow that I had taken that every day I will chant 16 rounds on japa, bead. So mind will say, then let's go and do. So some other force, mind generated force, will basically come and say that I need to do it. Oh, somebody has told me that if I don't do deity worship, I will not elevate in my consciousness. So I should go and do deity worship. So try to adhere ourselves with some guides and rules as part of the Badhi Bhakti. But Raganuga Bhakti is hard. It's spontaneous. It's always, I want to serve Krishna. So both of these bhaktis, those 9 stages that we see, many times devotees think that those are the stages for Badhi Bhakti, but not, that's not true. Those are the stages for Raganuga Bhakti also. So Badhi Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti both basically goes through those 9 stages then it comes to Bhava Bhakti. Bhava Bhakti is considered as a flower which is about to be blossom. It's like the flower which is in a budding stage. And Bhava Bhakti is also very high stage, very, very high stage. But Prema Bhakti is Mukulata stage, completely open consciousness. Like the bud has completely turned into a beautiful, matured flower. And that's the Prema Bhakti. So that's the goal of our life, is that all of that we are doing, either we are doing service mentally or physically, or anything that we are doing, the essence is that slowly and slowly it should lead us towards bhava and prema stage of the bhakti, of the devotion towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So with that, I would like to pause here, and we need to have some discussion. So let's start having some QA, some concern, anything that I misspoken, or maybe I was trying to speak too fast. I maybe kind of run over or something like that. We can take few minutes and talk about that. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I have a question.